are these people?
All right. So this story, unfortunately, is developing still as we're kind of reporting on this. And a lot of the information that I'm reporting on was based from everything that I kind of gathered since
yesterday,
as of last night.
Yeah.
There's obviously more information that's come out on this since today that I will try and do my best to kind of give some updates here and there from what I did see earlier this evening. But if anyone in the chat is able to give some more of those updates, we will really appreciate it. But so in case you guys didn't know, but I'm not sure how you couldn't know at this point, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which is located in Baltimore, Maryland, basically fell like a deck of cards overnight, Monday night, when this container vessel basically crashed into it.
Yep.
So for those of you who do not know of this situation, we have a short clip that gives a brief explanation as to what happened, and then we'll go from there.
Video no longer exists.
No.
Yeah. That's you got video no longer existed. What was it? Was it the what happened?
Yeah.
It was on YouTube. You pulled it, I guess, huh?
Was it on YouTube?
Must have been.
Yeah.
Nope.
Wow.
Go back. Well, fun stuff getting censored right in front of us. So, you know, whatever. What are you gonna do?
Well, that speaks to this. Like, why would they censor this?
Good question.
Why would they censor this?
Someone could have deleted it. Who knows? Like, we'll have to look into it. So, but yeah, which one was this from?
Right.
What was this? What was this one from?
I don't know. Well, no, CNN. Well, the TikTok was pulled from CNN.
CNN. Okay. Well, so, interesting. Maybe that's why it got pulled, was because it had CNN stuff. But anyway.
Well, we played that stuff before.
Well, it might not be CNN's on another channel. But you have this one from Baltimore.
Yeah. So this is from
CBS News,
which is a local affiliate in CBS News in Baltimore.
Cool.
So they're going to talk. So since we don't have that clip, maybe we can try and find it, like as we do this, or at least something.
Mm-hmm.
We will. So they're going to give you a brief explanation as to what happened.
Cool.
So you can go ahead with this.
Now I have that video that we've been telling you about of the actual collapse, the moment that the ship hit the major support, causing the Francis Scott Key Bridge to collapse. There it is, right there. That is absolutely stunning and incredible.
And as we mentioned, Fire Chief spokesperson for the Baltimore City Fire Department, Kevin Cartwright, mentioned there were several vehicles on the bridge at the time, including one the size of a tractor-trailer truck. A rescue and search and rescue effort now underway for at least 7 people in the water as a result of that collapse.
Multiple agencies are responding right this very moment to the scene, local and federal agencies as well. This, of course, is a major shipping channel, so this affects not just people who use that bridge, also the ships that will be leaving the port of Baltimore. Baltimore, of course, is a major port on the East Coast. This bridge, of course, opened in 1977, spans the Patapsco River, vital artery, of course, for the port of Baltimore. It's a hub of shipping for the entire East Coast, and, of course, named for the writer of the Star-Spangled Banner.
It's just surreal to see the entirety of this bridge come down like that. You just don't think you'll see something like that, but you're seeing it here.
Right. And, of course, as you would imagine, there were a number of people up and about around this morning, about the time this happened. We have some sound from at least one person who was a witness to what occurred this morning.
The ship had crashed into the Key Bridge, and I couldn't believe my ears. Well, they sent the video with it, and I saw it from my own eyes, and it's unbelievable, unbelievable. This is going to be catastrophic for many reasons. Number one, the harbor's blocked. Number two, we're not going to get any more new car deliveries at this time. Amazon is just on the other side of the river, and you can forget your same day, next day delivery packages. The Beltway is going to be a parking lot. The tunnels are going to be over jammed, and that's not even talking about the death of the people that were working on the bridge, maybe driving across the bridge. We don't know. It's like 4 in the morning. I heard it happened at 1:30. We had the windows open in my bedroom. Didn't hear anything. Didn't hear. I don't know what happened, but the story that I heard, and believe me, this is not. I don't know if this is true. Is that somehow the ship lost power and just crashed into the pilings, and that's all it took. Because you know, a bridge is a very fragile structure. It can actually is like a house of cards. You hit it in the perfect spot, and it's gone.
And of course, that was an eyewitness. Now, a lot of what he said, of course, we understand the importance of the bridge. We have no confirmation on some of the information that he was providing in terms of what is going to happen next. Not only that, we don't have confirmation on what happened with the ship and what caused it to hit the pilings there and causing the bridge to topple into the water. But the sentiment of what he's saying is absolutely true for so many people who live in that area, who use this this bridge on a daily basis, the people who work in the area, as well as the importance of this bridge to shipping up and down the East Coast.
Yeah, widespread overarching ramifications that we probably haven't even thought of. That's how significant this is. And we're now taking...
Well,
yeah, so what I wanted to play in that first slide, they gave an explanation as to what was going on with that container ship.
Okay.
So basically, and you know this, Reef, because you saw it.
Yeah.
So basically, before it hit the bridge, the lights on that ship went out.
Well,
once, and it came back on.
Yeah, running lights, which are not the same thing.
Right.
Well, it didn't go out again. I mean, from what I saw, it was emergency power got... Do you have the sped up footage in here? The like 12 times speed or whatever. Okay, hold on. Let me grab that because I can explain that. 2 seconds because I sent it to you or Indy earlier. Let me get it. Beep beep bop boop boop. Yeah, 8x speed. Here it is. So let me make sure my DMs are closed before letting people see Twitter. Cool. All right. Let's go here and here. Is there better quality? That would be nice. Okay. So here's the footage, right? So power's off, right? Okay.
Right.
Power's running lights are on, emergency power. You see the black smoke coming out the top?
Black smoke,
right. That's full reverse, right? I would imagine. I would say you try to steer at this point. Here's the thing, people. We're talking about tonnage. This is not like your friend's canoe. You know, this is multiple tons of steel and cargo. Right? In a medium that moves. Water itself moves. Right? How big is that ship, you think, Collin? It's as big as the bridge, right? So I want you to think about what wind does to a flat surface. Right? So I can't tell from this footage where water is moving and where wind is moving, but that's a factor, right? You don't just got breaks in the ocean with water like this. That it's either go or less go, pretty much.
Right.
So when you see this, now that's the power coming off again, but I think that's you still got running lights and we're like hitting the bridge. Now, that bridge stanchion is probably one of 2 bridge stanchions that if you hit would be a problem, right? So you'd want to avoid these. Like this is the 2 supporting columns of this entire truss structure, right? So, and like that's a lot of force to go right through this thing, by the way. Like this big steel concrete, like to get, I don't know, 20, 30 feet past it. Like that boat's got speed on it and is moving. So, you know.
So will you say that, from your opinion, that it was moving way too fast?
No, I mean, I just
If
think
that's
it's just that mass moving that fast has got some, you know, force equals mass times acceleration. So we're talking about a lot of newtons downrange, right? So, you know,
Overroading in the chat said that's why God invented tugboats. Which,
well, yes, tugboats would be useful here, although you wouldn't necessarily need it if you got harbor pilots on board. Their job is to, you know, like pilot a large vessel out of a harbor that they're used to traveling with. Sometimes they're like advising, right? Which I think is what happened here. So, you know, and he's saying is my dad ex-Coast Guard. My dad's active maritime marine. Works as a towboat captain, not the same as tugboat captain, but enough. You know, he's been one of the few, when he was a marine, was one of the few of them that got to pilot aircraft carriers. So, you know, fun stuff. But yeah, there's definitely some questions about safety and capitalist regard to, you know, how much this was upkept and things like that, which I can tell you in the maritime industry is a problem and will be continued to be a problem, as well as infrastructure of bridges and whatnot, you know, all that fun stuff.
And given what we mentioned in the last segment, well, in the second segment tonight, you know, like look at what we're spending our money on versus what we should be, and we're not.
So,
but anyway, so this tweet is from Gen X Girl on Twitter, where she tweeted, "A bridge in Baltimore collapsed this morning, 2 rescued, 7 missing." That's an update. I think now 2 of those bodies, I think it's 6, not 7, but 2 of those bodies have since been recovered as of today. So the other 4 are not accounted for as yet, as far as I know.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, let me know in the chat. But I think that's what the latest I heard. Reminder, 1.3 trillion spending bill passed with billions going to foreign wars, like 3.3 billion to Israel for genocide. Don't expect taxpayer funds to go into infrastructure because our government is only interested in murdering. I mean, she ain't wrong. So here's another clip that gives more specifics in terms of, you know, the aftermath now. Well, and again, this was as of yesterday. So let's play a little bit of it, and let's play a little bit of this in terms of the victims who happen to be on the bridge.
I think we
always get.
Yeah, we went backwards.
So
okay. You're here. There you go.
Yeah, so I'm here. Sorry. So Gen X Girl continues. Key bridge collapse and government priorities. Key Bridge is a major bridge connecting traffic on Highway 95 that goes from Maine to Florida. Not really. That's not 95 route, but you know, but it is an important wayfare in Baltimore. But regardless, the collapse of this bridge means supply chain disruption on the U.S. East Coast, import-export out of Baltimore Port, as all vessel traffic has been suspended from the 8th busiest port in the U.S. Traffic jam, as the 32K daily Key Bridge commuters will have to use one of only 2 other routes. Most bridges in the U.S. are past their life expectancy and need to be replaced. Key Bridge isn't the first collapse. 1993, Big Bayou Canal Bridge collapse in Alabama. 2002, I guess that's I-40 bridge collapse in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
And in 2012, Mississippi River Bridge collapse in Minnesota.
Yep, I remember that one. So
many believe the much-hyped Infrastructure Act is the answer to fixing all the U.S. dilapidated infrastructure, but is it? Or does our government prioritize infrastructure development properly?
Spoiler alert, no. Fuck no, even.
With lessons learned from prior collapses and the Infrastructure Act in its third year, how did this happen? Do we have any contingency plans in place to prevent these type of accidents, or have we mostly been lucky so far? Why did this bridge, originally built in 1977 and maintained several times, collapse like a deck of cards? Should have transportation authorities taken the downgrade of its inspection to fair more seriously? Why didn't they? Aren't bridges built to withstand impacts like this?
No.
Shouldn't they be? For example, why wasn't this bridge, which was located next to a very large and busy port, not have its pillars surrounded by barriers like Sky Bridge in Tampa, which is also located close to a port?
I mean, I'll tell you.
Tell us.
Well, as much as those might stop a vessel slightly smaller, right? Cargo vessels like that, you're kind of like screwed either way. If they're, like by the time that boat might have had maneuvering capability, it was too late, and like that's again, now it might not have, the bridge might still be there, parts of it, right? Like it might have taken that pillar out,
right,
or like slammed up against it. Like you really want more damage to the boat than the bridge, ideally, right? And that's what those like things are designed to do, right? Is essentially keep the boat from ever making it to the pillar, right? So it's kind of like you ever seen like those things on the highway where it's like a bunch of like stuff that's meant to fold when you hit it, right? Think of that, but on like a much larger scale with more crumple zone, right? So you're ideally meant to like, the boat hits it and slows down before you get to the pillar, essentially. So in ideal situations, it is like one of the only bridges that doesn't have something like that, if I'm not mistaken. If I remember reading that correctly. But yeah. So would be nice to have bridges that were decent, like they have in other places of the world. Just saying, like you don't hear this an issue in Chinese ports, do you? Like
no.
So not recently. So anyway, I'm sure you have a little more info, right?
Yeah,
so
a lot more. In comparison, fiscal year 24 budget allocated only $61 billion infrastructure for roads, bridges, tunnels, carbon emission reduction, safety improvements, workforce development. Does this look like our government is prioritizing properly? I think not. Now, considering this bill, the spending package that we just talked about, almost $1 trillion of that is going to defense versus only $61 billion towards infrastructure.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah, the $800 billion they just spent, like on defense,
right?
So yeah. Yep.
I mean, there's not much more we can say given that last segment. So this is from krqe.com.
Yep.
Supply chain manager says Americans should expect shortages. So the head of a supply management company says Americans should expect shortages of goods as the Baltimore bridge collapse affects ocean container shipping and East Coast trucking logistics. It's not just the port of Baltimore that's going to be impacted, said Ryan Peterson, CEO of Flexport.
Yep.
Hansen says officials have taken measures to prevent a ship collision from damaging their bridges, especially the Commodore Barry and Betsy Ross bridges, which are built similarly to the Key Bridge that failed. At the Commander Barry, those piers are protected by rock islands that we've constructed around the piers that will cause a strip to run aground on the island before it strikes the pier, he said.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, like look how far it pushed into this bridge. Like the front of the boat's out here, you know. Like, well, in the bridge. I mean, that's a good 20, 30 feet past this concrete stanchion. So, you know, but.
So this is from WJZ. State officials said that there was a total of 8 victims in the collapse, one of whom was hospitalized, the second uninjured, and 6 who remain unaccounted for. Here's what we know about the search and rescue operation underway in the Patsico River. So more from Justin Fenton, who apparently is a journalist based in Baltimore. The latest 2 people were rescued from the Patsico River, one who refused medical attention, and another transported in serious condition. Baltimore Fire Chief James Wallace says this continues to be a search and rescue operation. And to which this tweet from Alejandro Reyes Velade responds, as soon as I read that one of the construction workers who fell into the water refused medical treatment, I just knew that these were immigrant men. Because what do you mean you fell down with a bridge and just walked it off? Or I could argue the fact that we do not have universal health care, as you also mentioned, that there's no way for this guy, even if he went to the hospital, assuming if he was okay, to necessarily pay for the hospital bills for that hospital visit, even especially if there was something wrong. So yeah, there's that. This is from Maximilian Alvarez.
Yeah.
What is he? He's
The Real News.
Shoot. The Real News.
Mm-hmm.
Just spoke to Jesus Campos, who works for the Brana Builders. The company employed a crew of workers who were filling potholes on the Key Bridge when it collapsed. When I asked if he knew if the crew was notified of the Mayday call from the ship, he said no.
Yeah, of course.
So,
yeah, I mean, I think they tried to get some off. If it, like, you know, it's just wasn't a lot of time, you know.
Wasn't a lot of time, probably.
So,
some more from Justin. The missing men are from El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, and live in Dunlock and Highlandtown. They are in their 30s and 40s, he said, with spouses and children. All of them came to the city for a better life. They're all hardworking, humble men. We actually do have names for some. Again, I just saw it on the news as I was working out earlier today. We'll try and do an update with those men, given that we know at least 4 of them. So this is the clip that I wanted to play. So which actually talks. Well, again, this was yesterday. Before we knew who the victims were, we do know them now.
Okay.
But we're gonna play. This clip in regards to their bodies.
Cool.
So you can go ahead, Reef.
Yeah. Rick, this is a community that is absolutely shaken by this devastating tragedy, and we've talked at length about how this bridge collapse is going to affect us locally, regionally, and nationally. But when we talk about those 6 victims, those 6 people that are presumed dead now, that is the only thing that has been the top of mind of people in this community all day long. There have been thoughts and prayers expressed from multiple people that I've spoken to throughout the day, and now those 6 people are presumed dead.
A tragedy on the Patapsco River.
Devastating. It really is.
Anne Arundel County residents still processing the loss of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, a staple of the Baltimore skyline. This morning, that skyline looking much different.
It was gone. All the metal, you know, when you look out the window, all these you see, and it was gone. It's unbelievable. I was just on the bridge yesterday.
So my heart goes out to all these people, and it's just horrible.
Many coming to see the devastation for themselves and sharing thoughts and prayers for those impacted.
Families are hurting right now, wondering about their loved ones, and you know, it's very tragic.
And the Francis Scott Key Bridge meaning so much to so many people, but tonight I think that it's safe to say that all of the thoughts and prayers are with the families of those 6 victims, guys.
Alex, your heart aches for these families and what they're going through tonight after receiving this news, after holding to hope all day long, praying that their loved ones would be found, then of course rushed to the hospital with some sort of positive outcome. Alex Glaze, live from Pasadena, thank you. I want to send it out to Mike Helgren now. He's had a chance to speak with the governor today, the county executive, Johnny Olszewski, and is also diving a little bit deeper into that Coast Guard press conference that we heard just a short time ago. The Coast Guard, Mike, talking about the conditions these divers encountered today, trying in that rescue mission at one point to get in the frigid temperatures with these waters out here, the winds. So many factors played into this, making a dire situation that much more worse, Mike.
Rick, we've been talking about the challenges all day. Water temperatures in the 40s. When this began, it was still dark. It is now dark again here. That was also a challenge. The tide even was a challenge. And we know they sent underwater drones to look at what they were dealing with, and they saw just the remnants of this massive steel structure, and they were just mangled below the water and sticking up out of the water, and they posed just too much of a safety risk. At some points throughout the day, divers were told that they couldn't even go in. So it was a challenge just to get divers to go into the water. And that was a big part of why this took so long. And they were holding out hope, and we know that the search is going to continue in the morning. But for now, let's hear from the Coast Guard, and they were the lead agency as far as the search and rescue was concerned, and as we now know, those 6 workers are presumed dead.
The last thing we want to do is put divers in the water with changing currents, low temperatures, very poor visibility, and so much metal and other unknown objects in the water. All it takes is one object to strike an individual, and all of a sudden we have a first responder trying to recover another first responder. I think at 0600 we'll find ourselves in a better position to understand the dynamics of what we're dealing with and to address the issue in a much safer manner.
That hat doesn't fit him.
It was just too risky. Those efforts, again, will resume very early tomorrow. And then the investigation can start with the NTSB having a go team here. They'll be looking at all aspects of the ship and the bridge. Rick?
Right.
Well,
so that's something you kind of talked about, like, and I think that's what people need to consider is like the amount of debris from that bridge.
Yep.
Would be problematic.
It's also just
in terms of time.
Yeah, difficult conditions, cold water, current, like in the mouth of a harbor, you know, like, which presumably, I guess there's not ship traffic because the bridge is down. Right. But, you know, also, I think the quality of the water is not great. Visibility is probably piss poor. Like all that debris would have knocked up stuff. Understand that, too. Right. Where it's like the sediment at the bottom of this, you know, body of water would have gotten kicked up, blended in with the water there. Right. And made visibility almost impossible, I would imagine. So you're definitely in dry suit. What time? How cold is it up there?
Like 40.
Yeah, you're definitely in dry suit in the water, and you know, I mean, ideally, you know, there's some wild people who might be able to pull off just a wetsuit with that, but you know, dry suit better if available. But yeah, difficult conditions to get humans down there. So, you know,
yeah,
like
I said earlier, as you know, 2 bodies were recovered as of today. So
yeah,
really need to find the other 4. But anyway, let's continue.
Oh, this one no longer exists either, bro. You're I know this one. This is the.
All right.
Oh, you can go to Twitter and find that. I bet.
So I. Oh God. Censorship.
I know why. This was the mayor, right?
Like, if people can, yeah. I always wonder if this is why people are not necessarily reporting on this.
Yeah.
Because the mayor even said, he didn't want these videos, at least the bridge falling, to be featured on social media. So,
how long was this clip? Short?
Like a few seconds. It was like less than, like
20. Cool, I got it then.
All right.
So let me pull that up.
They unthinkable.
Yeah, I should have checked all of that, but this is the first.
You're good. Yeah, first time that's happened. I mean, you just pulled it off of YouTube, and then they probably took it down. So here you go.
Everyone, this is a unthinkable tragedy. We have to first and foremost pray for all of those who are impacted.
Thoughts and
those
prayers.
Families, pray for our first responders and thank them. All of them working together, city, state, local, to make sure that everyone. This is a.
That's it. Yeah,
that's it.
It just kind of cut. So that's Brandon Scott. He's the mayor of Baltimore. So he's young. He's 40, I think.
Sure.
So, but there was some controversy from some idiots.
Yes.
Who, this is so sad that like people even had to report on this. But I think it's important to kind of share this. Yeah, Bad Cookies. He's younger than me. I'll say that much. Like, I'm not gonna say the word, but essentially the way that people were describing Scott is nothing more than in light of this tragedy, a DEI hire, quote unquote.
Okay.
So yeah, so you can get
affirmative action shit, right?
Right,
Supposedly.
basically. So you can tell like the dog whistle.
Yeah, what's DEI stand for specifically?
Diversity.
Gotcha.
Equity, and inclusion.
Gotcha. Diversity hire stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Grip Mayless, go back.
Yep.
Reported DEI, basically the new way to say the N-word, is certainly something, Lamau.
Sure.
Angel Jones also tweeted, calling Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott a DEI mayor is just a new way of referring to someone as an affirmative action hire, with the implication that they didn't earn the position. I know racists don't read, but I guess they don't do numbers either, because he won 70% of the votes. Tornell Brown also tweeted, no one bats an eye when cities with majority white populations have white mayors, and honestly, it shouldn't matter. But when Baltimore, with the 67 Black population, elects a Black mayor, tell me, conservatives, when do you derisively refer to Brandon Scott as the DEI mayor? Do you pronounce DEI with the hard R? Asking for a friend. So, Ashmat X, who we follow each other on Twitter, also tweeted, which I thought was very saying something. During the debate around Fetterman's dress code, I said a Black politician would never be allowed to dress this. And the backlash against Baltimore's mayor proves my point. Fetterman is seen as working class reformist, while Brandon Scott is labeled as ghetto.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, I mean, just a lot of mess regarding something that I'm going to give Scott some credit, not his fault.
I mean, that mayor looks like Fetterman would chase him with a shotgun. So,
Right. Exactly. Now granted, you can make the argument like, and I'll say this now, like, you can make the argument that mayors, and governors in states, they have some responsibility regarding state budgets. Could he have made like investments regarding infrastructure? Sure, but state budgets can only do so much. That has to come with the federal government. And so the idea, again, what we have to say is that we got only $60 billion going towards infrastructure, when there's been reports that's just a drop in the bucket in terms of what is needed to bring bridges and everything regarding the infrastructure in this country up to code. I think, from the last stats I've seen, is somewhere between 8 to 14 trillion, I think, and maybe to at least bring everything up to code. So the idea that we're just giving that amount of money towards infrastructure, especially with Biden touting it, and a lot of the squad members too are touting it as a huge success, is really nothing and insignificant. And then,
speaking of insignificant nothings, you brought Pete Buttigieg.
Yes, since he is the transportation.
Oh, I forgot they put him in that nice cushy position. You kind of forget about Pete.
Talk about a DEI hire right here. But well, actually not really, but more like he did Biden a favor, so they did him a favor.
Yep.
Giving him a position that he's not qualified for in the slightest.
Well, you got to have your gay hire, right?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we're gonna go DEI. So
regardless, here's some of the bullshit that he was trying to make. See if you make any sense of this. You may be better than me in terms of this tragedy. So go ahead.
If an underpass was constructed such that a bus carrying mostly Black and Puerto Rican kids to a beach, or that would have been in New York, was designed too low for it to pass by, that obviously reflects racism that went into those design choices. I don't think we have anything to lose by confronting that simple reality, and I think we have everything to gain by acknowledging it and then dealing with it, which is why the Reconnecting Communities, that $1 billion, is something we want to get to work right away.
So the bridge was racist?
I'm going to try to interpret what he was trying to say here. I think he's trying to mention the idea, with a lot of highways that were built in this country since the 1950s onward.
Yeah.
Broke up cities, in terms of breaking up neighborhoods, especially neighborhoods.
Infrastructure to control population and whatever. But it's just that it doesn't seem like the thing to bring up in regards to this. It's
I think
odd.
That's what he was trying to say here.
Yeah.
But this is not. This is no. If this is a dodge, basically.
Yeah, this is fucking political speak, and him trying to
bad at it.
Yeah,
just badly. Doesn't even relate to the situation here.
Yeah.
But yeah, he tried to make it a racial, which is true. But what happened here in this case has nothing to do with racism, at least in that sense.
Yeah. But by that logic, you could argue so much is there's plenty of fucking buildings in Manhattan that are racist too. So, I don't think he's calling those out. Okay. I clicked. I clicked again.
You might be able to chime in on this a little bit. On this spread from Matt Dersh, I think he's kind of an expert on bridges and this kind of stuff, from what I was able to see.
Yeah.
So he says, bridge design for vessel collision, a FRED. The main span of the Francis Scott Key Bridge is 1,300 feet. It also has 185 feet of clearance, making this a massive bridge. This type of bridge is considered complex. Baltimore is in it for the long haul before replacement. Here is why. We design modern bridges for ship impact, but this was not always the case. In 1980, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge also collapsed from vessel strike.
Yep.
The photo below is the original Skyway. Similar bridges, an identical failure. The Skyway collapse changed bridge design. The Baltimore Bridge collapsed because it got hit by a container ship. What failed first? It appears the bow of the ship made contact with the vertical columns that supported the truss superstructure, causing it to have a cascade failure.
Yeah.
This bridge was going to fall from this event. It simply was not designed for equivalent static force that is well over 3 million pounds.
Yeah.
The container ship, assuming the navigation channel is centered, veered over 500 feet off course. Why did the whole thing fall?
Because bridges are built like that.
Right. The whole truss fell.
Yeah, a through truss bridge. Right. This is what they call it, right? So I can.
Means that the,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say.
Go ahead.
Fine. So like, if you look at the bridge, right? You see right here. See this bit?
Yeah.
So this is the truss structure, right? This is what is keeping this main span from collapsing, is this overhang. That overhang connected to this, that is then connected to the rest of the bridge. That's what the boat hit. Right? So this is called a continuous truss bridge or a through truss bridge, right? There's no like, you have like a cable bridge, for instance, right? You have a big supporting structure here and here, right? That then has cables that support the thing, right? Like you might not lose the entire bridge if one of those support structures breaks. And sometimes those support structures are then trussed, right? So this is through trussing, very high, very long span, so that like you don't need to make a bridge that breaks in the middle to let ships through. They just go underneath, right? That's the theory. So, but yeah, 3-span unit behaves. Yeah.
The whole truss fell because this is a continuous bridge. This means that the 3-span unit behaves as a 1. If one span fails, the maximum dead loads redistributes.
Yep.
This provides benefits to low resistance, and this is how we design modern bridges for this.
There's a great game. There's a couple of games that are like bridge constructors that simulate this really nicely. Shows you like red zones when stuff gets too much weight or breaks, right? So you'll have one truss system fail and it's dominoes down the line, you know? Like all that weight gets redistributed, stuff can't hold it, you know, and the whole thing comes down. So, yep.
Modern bridges deal with vessel collisions 2 ways. The first is to use a dolphin. This is a mass of rock, sand, and steel that serves to stop the vessel before it makes contact with the bridge. Likely the new bridge replacement will use a dolphin as one method. So if you go down.
Yep, something like this.
Something like that, which was what people were talking about, was why I didn't have that.
Again, see this nice cable bridge, right?
Yeah.
So you see the span is supported twice, right? So like if this side of the span goes, this one shouldn't be affected. You know, like a lot of this would still be there, and like, you know, so yeah, bridge stuff. It's fun. It's fun. Bridges.
The second is to design the bridge to take the vessel strike and resist the event. This is a massive undertaking with a central focus: don't collapse. We will see localized failures but maintain global stability.
Yep.
This load could be well over 3 million pounds.
Yep.
To resist that much load to stop a vessel, we need a flexible bridge and a lot of foundations such as piling or drilled shafts. Typically, this is more foundation needed than to simply resist earthquakes, hurricanes, and everyday loads. So
Like
where do
that-
we go from here?
Like that cable bridge we saw a minute ago, cables can move. right? So
right, and they have to because
yeah, it's still. I mean, you could still
like,
have stuff break it, but if you hit the
but, like,
stanchion and
it's
break the
not-
stanchion, but if you just hit the bridge, you're gonna be all right. So,
Baltimore is going to be without a critical bridge for a long time. Tampa Skyway Bridge took 7 years, but this will be done sooner, hopefully much sooner.
I don't know if that's a good thing, but yeah.
What needs to be done? Well, a lot. Can the approach spans be salvaged? The approach spans are likely fine, but are they tall enough to support the new name span? Does the bridge need more vertical clearance? Officials will need to ask, do they fully replace the bridge in full or attempt to reopen sooner with only the main span?
Yep.
The main span is not easy to design or build unless they make a decision to go with a smaller span bridge less than 375 feet.
Yep.
But that comes with new challenges, particularly with how close the piers will be to the navigational channel. There are many things left to talk about here, but on a plane now. I specialize in bridge design of long bridges. Thanks for reading and happy to answer all questions. Maybe we should have him on to talk more about this.
Sure, I'll talk to Bridge Guy.
But, but yeah, so long story short, this is going to take years to do. And there's going to be a lot of discussion of how the future constructed here should be done. But there's a lot of things that need to be considered in terms of restructuring.
Yeah.
So moving on from that, and to go to another issue that I think will be discussed probably on a future segment soon enough, I'm sure.
Yeah.
This is from Aaron, who tweeted, "Why are we footing the bill?" As in taxpayers, us.
Yeah.
The ship's parent company and insurance should be fixing this and handling all claims. Why is Biden so quick to hand out our money? So if you play that, you will see.
It's my intention that the federal government will pay for the entire cost of reconstructing that bridge. And I expect the Congress to support my effort. This is going to take some time. The people of Baltimore can count on us, though, to stick with them at every step of the way until the port is reopened and the bridge is rebuilt. We're not leaving until this job gets done. Not leaving until then. So I just want to say God bless everybody who got everyone harmed this morning and their families. And may God bless the first responders, who many of them risking their lives. And the reason I'm not going to take a lot of questions, there's remaining issues that are open that we got to determine what's going to happen in terms of the rescue mission and the like. But
Do you plan to go to Baltimore, sir? And if so, how quickly?
I do, and as quickly as I can. That's what
you said the federal government's also going to pay for the repairs. I'm just curious. This was a ship that appears to be at fault. Is there any reason to believe that the company behind the ship should be held responsible? And then also, you mentioned
that could be, but we're not going to wait for that to happen. We're going to pay for it to get the bridge rebuilt and opened.
And may God have mercy on our souls. Okay.
So I have a couple more slides.
Yep.
Well, one slide, I think.
It's my intention.
No, Biden. No. Bad Biden.
So, in a statement published on its website, Marx said,
Maersk.
In the early hours of, what is it?
Maersk. Mm-hmm.
Maersk said, in the early hours of 26th of March 2024, a vessel collided with the Francis Scott Key Bridge, resulting in damage to the structure. Information on the situation remains pending, and we remain in close contact with officials in the area. We can confirm that the container vessel Dolly is owned by Grace Ocean and operated by Synergy Group. It is time chartered by Maersk and is carrying Maersk customer cargo.
Yeah.
No Maersk crew and personnel were on board the vessel.
Yeah.
Due to the damage to the bridge and resulting debris, we will not be possible to reach the Helen Delich Bentley port of Baltimore for the time being. In line with this, we are omitting Baltimore on all of our services for the foreseeable future until it's deemed safe for passage through this area. So you had I think you said you had something you wanted to say.
Well, I mean,
this company.
It's, I mean, Maersk is just one of the biggest shipping companies, right? They're linting this boat, which is owned by Synergy Group, right? Which is the same ones that I think did that weird Titanic stuff. They also funded that, right? So,
yes.
That the one that got crushed and whatever. But I don't know if I sent it to you, I think, right? But this ship, the Dali, has had more than one issue.
It just seemed it was just one person who was kind of saying that. And
I'm talking about
it kind of
the Dali has had issues damaging ports and stuff before. Like there's videos of it crashing stuff before.
Right.
So there's that. But yeah. No, that's pretty much most of it. There was Ukrainian captain on board, right? I do believe that's also part of this story. I think places like DD Geopolitics are saying that like Ukrainian Telegram having a normal one and taking credit for the collapsed bridge, right? So that's a thing that might be happening.
Right.
So yeah, lots of blame being thrown around. Other than by us, we're taking full. Like that's the thing is like the insurance company would normally be trying to blame the captain, right, or the harbor pilots who were advising on board, or something, because they don't want to take credit for this. Clearly, we're not making any accusations of blame. We're just saying this is an accident, right? So
for now,
it just seems like
until proven otherwise,
there's smoke there. I don't know what yet, but something's going on with that.
There is some conspiracy theories going around, and it makes sense. But I didn't feel necessarily comfortable reporting on that yet until we have something
whatever
more definitive, and we're going to allow the experts in our space to take care of that.
Sure.
But
from what I've seen, the experts are questioning things now too. So
right. I mean, but questioning in what way though? So honestly, this just seems.
I mean,
strange.
I'm seeing a lot of narrative control on it for sure. Clearly with two videos being fucking removed, like. Something's going up. I'm just saying, like, don't put your tinfoil hats on too soon, but,
Right. But that even with me looking at this for the first time, obviously getting over just seeing a bridge.
The initial thing,
Right. But just being like, this seems odd to me. Even like, it is, even though it could be styled as an accident. But I think the idea, especially with Biden basically being like, oh, we're willing just to, two things. Notice how he mentioned how he was willing to go to Baltimore right away.
Right away. He still hasn't been to East Palestine, right? Or did he go?
Right. He hasn't been to East Palestine yet. It took him like 2 weeks or something like that to go to Lahaina.
Yeah.
So, but this is also similar to the I-95 basically road just fell out, which happened in Philly. I think it was last summer.
Yeah.
I believe when we reported on this, that Biden was able to get there relatively quickly. So just the idea that he's willing to go there, but not to those other places, I think is very telling. But then again, Maryland is so he needs those votes after all. So it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
But also just dodging the question as far as the business surrounding this, and him basically saying, "Oh, we're going to the government is going to take care of it." I think is a valid question.
Well, and keep in mind any of these infrastructure things.
Why aren't?
Yeah.
So, or at least right now, why quick? Why be quick to let us pay for this instead of the people that are responsible for this?
Yeah. So no, I'm with you, and keep in mind that like infrastructure like this, especially if it's like rushed, right? There's lots of money being thrown around, and a lot of people are happy to take it. So keep an eye on those pocketbooks over there, and see who gets these contracts and who owns the bridge afterwards is going to be a thing too.
Because
Like
we have a tendency in this country to spend a lot of money for subpar.
Right. Watch the new bridge be a toll bridge on top of that too, just so that someone could make money.
Right.
Like it's gonna be rough, but hopefully our video doesn't get taken down. That would be nice. If it does, Rockfin and Rumble, you can sub to all the links. IndieNews.network. We'll put the clips up on there. And, there's a reason why YouTube demonetizes us. So if you want to give us some donations for things, you can go to ko-fi.com/IndieNewsNetwork or scan the QR code on your screen. Or if you're in the chat, you can hit !donate. If you can't give monetarily, very easy. Just hit like and subscribe. Very simple. Share. Just send this to your friends. Why not? Right? Leave a comment. Let us know what number you got. Trying to get to 2K subs. We're almost there.